What is up, guys? It's your boy Ed Barton from Crush Social Anxiety here. Today we're talking about this: choking the chicken, spanking your monkey, jerking your gherkin, tugging the turkey, whatever you call it. We're talking about masturbation, NoFap, and how it affects your social anxiety. So I've got to say, when I first heard about NoFap, I was super excited. It sounded like this amazing way to cure all of your problems, to rebalance your hormones, boost your testosterone, give you more facial hair even, reduce social anxiety. All of this stuff that it was meant to do, it sounded amazing. So I was obviously really excited to try it out. And I abstemiously set about laying off touching my tackle for like a month, and then I was going for my second month, and my longest streak was almost 2 months. And I gotta say that in that time I didn't really get any results. It didn't rebalance my hormones, which I was having a problem with at the time. It didn't increase my facial hair, didn't increase my muscle tone, didn't increase my testosterone, because I was actually getting my hormones checked at that time. And it also didn't reduce my social anxiety. So I'm calling BS on NoFap. There's no science behind it. There's pseudoscience and bro science. And you see a bunch of websites, nofap.com and Reboot and Your Brain on Porn. And a lot of these things are basically internet marketing websites to, I think basically they're preying on vulnerable guys in their early 20s oftentimes. And I think a lot of what goes on is a placebo effect. You know, guys stop whacking off, and then they start leading a more positive life, and they attribute all of that down to the NoFap thing. There's no Western science behind it. It kind of can be backed up in some sense by the Chinese science, and I lived out in China for 10 years. I've had some first-hand experience of it. I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but the Chinese viewpoint would be that by not expending, your semen, you're not ejaculating, so you're conserving your qi and your jing, which are your vital energies. But again, this is like kind of pseudoscience. There's nothing in the West which backs up these theories. And I've had illness, and I've been to see Chinese doctors when I lived in China over that decade, and their methods didn't work. And then I would try Western medicine, and it worked. So for me, I put my faith in Western medicine, to be honest. So the idea of qing and qi and jing, it's also linked to Taoism, and you would get Taoist sects that didn't, that's sects, not sex, that didn't ejaculate. And like, this isn't backed up in science. There's nothing there to show that any of that is bad. But I am going to caveat that by saying that I do think that too much masturbation is a negative thing and can have a negative impact on your social anxiety, as I've talked about before. When I was struggling really bad, I was locked in a cycle of internet porn addiction, chronic masturbation. I was jerking off like 5 times a day, no joke, regularly 3 times. And all of this, it just fed into this really unhealthy lifestyle where I wasn't going out. I felt shameful when I did go out, because I was like, Christ, these people must be able to see that I've just been looking at porn all day. I wasn't confident around people, and it was just a really unhealthy lifestyle that I was locked into. So it was just part of this more widely dysfunctional lifestyle that I had going on, where I was sitting indoors and beating off all the time. And what I would say is that, you know, if you're going to overcome social anxiety, cutting down on masturbation might be a good thing, you know, like once a week or whatever, you know, because it builds self-discipline. If you're not just jerking off whenever you feel like it, it also gets you away from the computer and away from internet porn and just the internet generally, because I do think internet addiction is also very negative for social anxiety, because it kind of desensitizes the dopamine pathways in the brain and your dopamine receptors, and kind of can burn you out a bit in terms of your reward circuitry. So even if it's, regardless if it's social media or porn or whatever, I really recommend getting off the fucking internet, going outside, because the more time that you're online is the less time that you're outside, less time you're interacting with people and pushing your boundaries, approaching women, starting dialogues, addressing your fears, breaking out of your comfort zone. And that is the shit that really overcomes and defeats social anxiety. Actually getting out there, not sitting at home jerking off 5 times a day, you know, watching Pornhub and sitting on your sofa and eating Cheetos or whatever. You got to get out there, and you know, you got to do a lot of inner work as well, and then you got to get out as well and do practical exercises outside. So I do think NoFap can be good in the sense that it might encourage you then to get out of the house, get off the internet and build a more positive life. You know, you might be more inclined to go to the gym and eat healthier and so on, and do these things which are necessary to overcome social anxiety. But I do call BS on this idea that it's going to give you superhuman powers, that it's going to crush your... Like, that is fucking straight up bullshit as far as I'm concerned. All these clowns on the internet, on YouTube, saying, oh, I didn't whack off for 30 days and it overcame my social anxiety. It's like, dude, your social anxiety goes back so far. You know, social anxiety has very, very deep, complex psychological roots. So the idea that you can just suddenly overcome it by not, you know, whacking off and watching porn for 30 days, I find it actually insulting. I struggled from my earliest memory up until the age of 32 with crippling social anxiety. And this applies for any of the jokers that I see on YouTube, on the internet, talking about, you know, tapping themselves and giving themselves a mantra and not whacking off, or eating ashwagandha, or they did this or they did that and they listened to this meditation. I think it's absolute bullshit, and it's insulting to me as a former sufferer, and it's insulting to all of my clients, and it's insulting to you watching this, because it's so much more complicated than that. We're talking about, you know, a chronic lack of self-esteem, you know, and I've talked about this in all my other videos as well, a lack of self-love, really not even a solid sense of self, not even a solid sense of who am I, what do I want in life, do I trust myself to make my own decisions, you know, can I be responsible for my own direction in life, and all that stuff. You're talking about going from basically a very weak, pathetic state of total lack of confidence. Do people like me? Oh, am I accepted? All of that kind of thing, where your locus of evaluation is entirely external. You care only about what people outside of you think about you looking in, rather than the other way. And that's a long process to go through, centralizing your locus of evaluation and internalizing that. So you're like, I am me, I have a solid sense of self, I love me, and what are you going to do about it? Do I care about you? Is this good enough for me? That's a massive shift, right? And it can come about through hard work and through tackling your limiting beliefs and your cognitive distortions and all your internal issues, and then putting stuff into practice. But it's a long process, and it's much more complicated than not doing that for 30 days. Do you know what I mean? Not touching your dick for 30 days, or your clitoris, or whatever it is, you know, watching this, for you watching this. That is not going to eradicate your social anxiety, and it's fucking insulting to even insinuate that that is possible. It's misleading at best, and it's downright devious or you know, deliberately deceitful at worst. So, you know, by all means, cut down on your masturbation, because it may well help you to live a more healthy lifestyle. Get out, get a gym membership, eat clean, start planning your life, start taking control and being responsible, and improve your self-efficacy, and start living a more purpose-driven, meaningful life. And I agree that less masturbation could be a part of that. But the idea that NoFap and not doing that and not jerking off is going to miraculously overcome your social anxiety is a downright pile of bullshit. And that is my view on that. I would love to hear what you guys think. Please hit me up in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, check out the other videos on this channel, and I'm going to speak to you guys all very, very soon.